Pride Parade. So, Kink at Pride. Also, the fact that the left is putting such hate on leather daddies and drag queens is odd, since they literally were on the front line helping, being there for more queer people during the moral panics and aid panics. They did a lot for gay people. The thing is, I'm not even angry at like somebody wearing leather at a Pride event, or like even, I don't even think you can't be like a leather daddy at a Pride event and make it appropriate, as long as you're wearing leather in a way that's like not showing genitals or something. Like somebody can wear like a leather jacket and like one of those hats and like not even be like openly sexual like that. Like, I mean, has anybody ever seen the like YMCA? Like one of the singers pretty clearly. What is it, the Village People? I don't know. I'm not that old. Village People. Like, yeah, I mean, it's not that. Yeah, like that to me isn't something that like really like on the right there. Like I would not be uncomfortable ever with that like at a Pride event, really. Anyway, is a full GIMP soup appropriate? Okay, can we skip this first before you guys start talking about this? Okay, let's start with this. So, this is kind of a pointless conversation about like, should people in dog out like doing puppy play children be interacting in the same space? This is avoiding like the actual core of the conversation, where there's the most productive like this dialogue to be had with this Kink at Pride event. I think the real dialogue is not about whether there should be Kink at Pride, like should be the first step. The first step of it should be, what should Pride be going forward? Because I think how we view Pride and how Pride is treated, how it's promoted, how it's funded, has changed drastically in the last 20 years. I would even say in the last 10 years. Because back in the day, Pride was an event of radical change and like challenges to the system, where a lot of people would go to Pride knowing that the group they're representing is widely despised by society, and they are going there to represent LGBTQ plus people in a world, in a country where they are widely hated, where there's laws being passed in California that was fought against hard to stop gay people from teaching, to stopping gay people from adopting, we didn't have marriage equality, a million different things. The lynchings of gay people, right? And so Pride became a event like once a year where people would come together and represent different sections of the gay community, of the LGBTQ plus community, and lash back at a society which didn't treat them well. And there was many different people at Pride. It was an extremely diverse event. There were, of course, trans people. There were just gay people. There were bisexual people. There were, of course, people like leather daddies. There were drag queens. There was a lot of different sections of society. And, of course, there were some people engaged in kink stuff. Now, this was served two purposes. Number one, gay people didn't get to like be openly out there all the time. If you were a gay person and you're just walking around society in the 80s, like you can just like be like, oh, that person's gay, I know they're gay. Or I can go to a lot of these gay spots and just know everybody's gay. Like, you can do that all the time. And so going to these events, it was one of the few places where, you know, like, hey, the person next to me shares my sexuality. Maybe they'd be interested. Maybe I'm interested in them. I think that was probably one purpose. Another purpose was to, of course, be the fact that heteronormative forms of sexuality was widely shown in society and advertising and media and how its stuff is sold to people, right? And that was another reason it was there, because they wanted that type of representation out in the public too. I think there was a bunch of reasons why. It was a backlash. If people are like super homophobic, what does a lot of people do when you go to these events? Well, if you're super homophobic, fine, I'll just be gayer. You don't like gays? Hi, fine. I'll be as gay as possible. I'm going to be so gay, I'm going to blow away your mind. Watch me. And that's not the only thing I'm going to blow away, right? And that's what Pride was. It was this radical event of activism to challenge the heteronormativity of society, challenge homophobia, challenge transphobia. That's what this event was. It was not normalized. It was something to challenge society. Then there was the second thing. Now there's a second weight of what people are viewing for Pride. And the question first is that something we want to continue Pride to be? But there's this new thing of Pride. Corporations have gotten involved. You see it every year. June comes around. Companies change their logos to rainbows. The reason why this was being sold and I could buy it was because, hey, June's around the corner. We can market towards the gays. We can market to the LGBTQ plus community. They are a consumer base we can market to. And hey, maybe we'll sponsor some floats. Now it's like, hey, who else should be welcome here? In this radical event of activism, maybe if it's not being as radical, maybe the kids can come out to the event. Maybe more people can come out. It can be a family event of showing your pride in being a homosexual, because it's still necessary, because there's still a lot of homophobic people, but it's becoming more and more society acceptable. And it's something people want to introduce to young people at a younger age. Like, hey, it's okay to be gay. You want that idea to be in people's heads as a young person, because if they end up being gay, you don't want them to hate themselves. The type of messaging I heard when I was a kid, I remember hearing from my father, like, thank God my only son ain't gay. And that's not something that like gave me a lot of self-confidence in becoming who, I am. And so introducing that to youth and taking advantage of the fact that the corporate dollar is now on our side and having all these new sponsors and stuff, there's Pride.
Is occurred.
That's a vision for Pride some people have. And it seems to be the vision of Pride that's starting to win out. People can call it whatever you want. You can call it rainbow capitalism. You can call it just widespread normalization, whatever. So I think the real conversation that should be going on is about these two conflicting versions of Pride. Not whether we should be having puppy play next to children. It should be, should Pride be this event of old where it is this radical activist event, quote unquote radical, where people come out to challenge the heteronormative status quo and be as and challenge it in the way that they used to? Or should it become more of a family-friendly event? An event where all ages and youth are welcome, where the corporations get to dump their money into it to promote their brand along to a consumer base of LGBTQ plus people, which also, while of course it sounds extremely dull to any of us saying it outright, but it does have the added benefit of, hey, when the corporate dollar is on your side, that gives you an advantage. Putting the rainbow flag on everything doesn't feel like real activism, does end up helping. When ads include more gay people in them, it does normalize. When we see rainbow flags everywhere, knowing what that represents, that normalizes it. And we continue to see LGBTQ plus people getting to be more and more accepted in society. Pew Research has shown that marriage equality now is no longer half of Americans, but 2/3 of Americans. And we can hopefully continue to see that trend continue. So the question should be not, should pup play be introduced to children at Pride? That question, I think, is a shoot off of what should the future of Pride be. I think that's a more responsible conversation to have. That conversation makes a lot more sense to me and is the actual weighted topic here. So thank you for the raid. That is what I would actually want to ask you guys. What should the future of Pride be? Not, should pup play be introduced to children? I think that's an extreme simplification of what exactly Pride is becoming. And because I think this conversation is happening because we're in the middle of this transfer from older Pride to this transformation into what Pride is slowly becoming with commercialization and what people have called rainbow capitalism, injecting itself into it, and the fact that it's becoming more family friendly as more people go to these events. Pride has become bigger and bigger and bigger, which of course means that a lot of them are not going to be the hardcore radical activist types of old, pushing the boundaries, willing to put their face out there and risk it all in order to advance LGBTQ plus interests. Anyway, my position is I am not really super against Pride becoming an event that is more family friendly and welcoming to young people. Because as you're resources, stance in society, and position changes, so should your strategy. And I think the next step is to push for extreme widespread social acceptance, which having like children go to these events to accept this at a younger age is because that's a huge issue for LGBTQ plus people. Introducing the fact to them at a young age that if you're LGBTQ plus, that's fine, that's acceptable. Pride being an event of celebration of that is something that I think would be positive. I don't really want to push away the corporate dollar when it comes away to the idea that, hey, that could be beneficial, even if it's corporate. And I know a lot of people don't like the smell of that. Having that on your side, promoting it, putting it in ads and advertising does help normalize it further. Not only in the United States, but internationally. And so I'm leaning in that direction, but I'm not completely convinced. Because I also think that having that hardcore activist base is an extremely useful tool too. Because there's still a lot of things that we need to fight hard on when it comes to like challenging societal norms, whether that be trans issues, whether that be adoption issues, whether that be the fact that the vice president for the last 4 years before Biden got into office was somebody who openly advocated for conversion therapy, maybe challenging conversion therapy directly in many states and trying to get a federal ban on it. Like, there's a lot of stuff we still need to do. So the question really, I think, could become a question of strategy, of what's more effective in trying to get the goals of the gay community going forward, which for me would be widespread bans on conversion therapy, further protection of adoption rights, further advancing of sexual health, protecting trans people, advancing trans issues, and like introducing to young people at a young age the fact that being gay, being LGBTQ plus is okay. Which to me, seeing all of those, I think the latter choice of pride seems more effective to me. And that's the only reason I back it. Not out of some horror at seeing a leather daddy at an event, which I don't even think you need to completely drop that culture. Like, again, someone can go to one of these events like in leather and not be like overtly like interacting sexually with the youth. I mean, it's not that difficult. I haven't worn like the leather outfits before, but I've worn leather clothing and it not be in that manner. So I don't think it's extremely difficult. I mean, hey, we make the kids sing YMCA, don't we? And one of the village people was very clearly like a leather daddy. Dylan did a stream about this on Sunday, telling the old guard to hang their leathers is only going to erase our history. The question should be whether or not... The thing is, that's not even to say that this should be completely dropped, all of that type of activism. I think maybe it's a question of whether this event, Pride, should continue to be that, or maybe if that should be a different event now, that Pride, for whatever reason, seems to be the event that caught mainstream acceptance. Pride is the LGBTQ plus event every year that most Americans know about. And with that, should we continue for the old guard to hang on, or should we advance it in a different way? I hope you understand what I'm trying to say here. It's not me trying to push like anybody engaging in kink from activism. Simply saying that like Pride has become an extremely like widespread national event where more and more people are participating. And I wouldn't be against the idea of continuing down the road we seem to be down and maybe having the more kink-centric events on different days where they can push that type of activism. Because there's not going to be... I doubt there's going to be another LGBTQ plus event that's going to catch wind like Pride. Pride is a mainstream thing. Literally, this is sold around this type of year because of Pride. It's going to be very hard to get that opportunity again.